Hello, I am MONOLYX, and I'm going to be doing a little track breakdown of Wake Up, my latest upcoming single with Angel Harrison. So, just going to dive into the project file here. I'm going to be looking more at the composition rather than the technical aspects. That's mostly down to the fact that I've had to freeze everything into audio because my CPU can't handle it because I'm running a MacBook Air. Anyway, so I'm just going to look into the intro section here. So that's the main intro chord progression here, and I've got three elements. Well, you could say it's two elements because one of them is panned either side for a little bit of wideness here. So this is my piano. So that was made in Vital, and I've got a little bit of auto pan on there with the amount that has been automated up. So you get the initial sort of attack, and then the tail is auto panned, and it sort of flutters around, and I quite like that. I also put a bit of reverb and OTT on there just to accentuate that tail. And now here, the second element you could say is the little Reese bit. So that's a lot lower in the mix, and it's more just to carry the rest of it because without it, you notice it. It just makes it a little bit more atmospheric. And talking about atmospheres, I have this sample that I got offline. Very nice. It just adds to that sort of melodic sort of sound that I'm going for. Now here in the second section, I'm just going to play this. So then going into the next section, I have this little chime here. And then the drums come in as well. Now I've got an auto filter on that at the moment. And also you'll see this little Max for Live plugin. I'll talk about that a bit later. But yeah, like I said, the drums come in with an auto filter on. So you're just getting the subby bit of the kick at the moment. Later on, you'll get bits of the snare and bits of the top. But it's all about that gradual build up, which I quite like here. So when the vocals come in, the drums aren't overpowering it. And talking about the vocals, let's start the next section. So that's the first bar. And then after that, I start to incorporate more elements. So I'm just going to look at these vocals here. As you can see, I've got a lot of processing on them. I've got a couple of EQs, glue compressor, auto shift, which is not the best kind of auto pitch, but it does the job, and I used it for this one. Got a bit of reverb on there, and I've also got a bit of OTT. That's a bit controversial, but I think it makes the vocals punch through the mix a little bit more, makes them stand out, makes them clearer. And I've got a utility here. The main part, which I wanted to talk about, was this Virtual Riot rack. Again, I use a lot of Virtual Riot's racks. It's a bit of a mouthful. But this one, I just want to highlight because It's usually used, or I would usually use it for like a build up to make everything wash out, hence the name wash out. But I also sometimes I dial it down a little bit, and you can use it just for a bit of effect. And here it makes a little bit of a nice fluttery, reverby delay effect, which I really like.
I've been thinking, been losing my mind. Clock is ticking, losing track of the time.
And I really like that for the atmospheric feel that I've got going on in this track. And I'm just going to play it without.
I've been thinking, been losing my mind.
So you can definitely tell the difference there. I much prefer the wet vocals. But yeah, all of this processing, I feel, did a lot for these vocals and really made it stand out in this mix. So then in the next section here, in the next couple of bars, I've got this element that I start including. So you can hear this little bit here. Which I've also got on an auto filter, bringing it in from the lower registers. And this is actually a little teaser towards what's to come in the drop. And I thought if I start incorporating it here as more lighter elements, more atmospheric elements, then it'll make the drop a lot more impactful. So yeah, so I've included this part here, and then also I've taken this little atmospheric bit, and then I've put it into simpler, and I've made it part of the chord progression as well. It's just a subtle little harmony there. And then the next section, you'll see a lot changes, and it goes into the little build-up bit. So before I talk about this next bit, I'm just going to talk about my use of risers here. And I've got a couple of different risers. I've got a reverse crash. The reason I use that is mostly because this track is very upbeat, it's very light, and I wanted the sound design to sort of reflect that. So the crash, I've got a white noise riser, a little vocal atmosphere, which I've made into a riser. It's just a fade in, to be honest. And then I've also taken these vocals and then I've put a load of reverb on, frozen it, and then reversed it. And then I've got this effect. So I've created my own little riser there out of these vocals. And then going to the next section, then I've got an impact which is going down, and I've reversed all of these risers just to sort of make this more of a swell rather than a drop as it's going into the build-up. So it brings the energy back down, which then I can use to bring the energy back up. And here I have basically my piano, and I've turned it into a stab on the 8th notes. Sorry, that's 4th notes. And I've also changed the original piano. I've just changed the auto pan a little bit there. So here I'll go into the next little bit, because I've got another auto filter on there bringing this in from the lower registers. So that's just a square wave that I've got coming in with the main melody with another auto pan on it, just to sort of build the energy a little bit more. And a sub. And that'll be very nice for the next section, for when the Reese comes in. So yeah, I've got this Reese coming in here. I didn't want it to be too aggressive. I wanted a bit of distortion on there, but I didn't want it to be too overpowering, so I've got it a little bit lower in the mix. And it sounds very smooth through my headphones. So here as well, you'll see I've taken the drop bass, which I've got here, and I've just started teasing it, and I've automated the EQ here, basically just another auto filter. And it starts coming in over here, as you can hear. So yeah, that's starting to tease the drop here. I've got some more rises going on down here as well. And also I felt like this vocal from Angel perfectly suited this build up. It really brings the energy, and it sort of, it gives it a certain feel, and I really like that, because I mean, without any vocals, it just sounds a bit bare. I like the vocals in there, it's very nice. And then here we are, coming to the drop, the bit that everyone waits for, the bit that everyone skips to. So there's a little bit in there which I really, really like. And all it is just this washout again. And it makes this little vocal bit, this little fluttery bit just before the drop, adds a little bit of variation, a little bit of space. I've taken a lot of these elements back just a couple of phrases before the drop so that you can really hear that vocal bit. It's that S sound, that sibilance, and it carries on, and then it goes into the drop. So there's not really much to talk about with the drop. It's quite a simple drop. All it is just this. Where is it? Is it this? It's just this melody, but just carried on into here with a couple of layered Reeses. So that's the main one. And then I've got one here. This is the sub. And this is just like a little mid part. So that comes in after a couple of bars. And then, so yeah, that's the drop. And then it goes into the second phrase of the drop. Got these chimes coming back in. And I've got this little element here when the vocals come back in, just to support the vocals and give the vocals a little bit of mid space. So this bit, I love this bit. So what I've done here is I've taken the little vocal from, and then I've dragged it into a MIDI lane, and it's converted it into MIDI information. And I've put a bit of processing on it. I think I put it through Vital and just made it a little bit of like a lead. And I've panned those either side for a bit of wideness. And that's just teasing into the next phrase of the drop or the chorus bit, whatever you want to call it. So this is the bit in every track that I like to do, which is like the bit where I really express myself and I go all out on the production. So this bit, that's sort of the lead line now, and the respace, it's a little bit thicker. I've got some other elements that I've incorporated. And this one. Just some more layers, as well as, I mean, I put auto pan on the whole thing here. Oh, you can't see because I've frozen it. But I've put auto pan on all of them. Just to give that little bit more of a bouncy feel. Here I've got that square wave bit again to support these vocals. And yeah, and that's pretty much how it is until the little halftime bit that I've done. I haven't really talked about the drums yet. I will get onto the drums. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to talk about the drums now. Might as well, since this next bit goes into halftime. So the outro bit, I thought, yeah, I'll go halftime, and it has a nice feel to it. I'll incorporate this lead back in from the original to tie it back to the beginning. And then, yeah, so we've got, I'll talk about the original drums here first, and then I'll talk about that bit, because there's not too many differences. So I've got two kicks here layered. One's called the mono kick, or mono kicks. I've made that one myself. So here's the original kick sample. Here's my kick. A little bit more aggressive, and then together it's going to sound like this. And then we go onto the snare. So I've got this sort of wooden snare. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's got a very short release, a lot of attack, and then I've got a clap for the transient. And then looking at the top here, it sort of mostly follows this loop that I brought in from my samples here. But then I've also got these hi-hats where I've variated the velocity and a tambourine. I love using tambourines, especially in a track like this where it's sort of light-hearted. I don't really use it for my heavier drops, because it's something that sort of, it gives it a certain feel again. So the drums all together. Very, very simple liquid drum and bass drums there. And then here, I've got my halftime drums. So I haven't really done too much here, apart from just sort of changing around the arrangement. So I've got the same kick, the same snare. I have got a little rim snare here as well that I've added just to sort of bring that home, and also add little variations here and there. That's from the original snare. So I've just added little bits here and there, and I've also added a hi-hat and an open hi-hat there, and you'll also see the tambourines. So just little variations here and there. which I thought suited it very well. And that's pretty much the whole track here. It's only comprised of about 50, 60 tracks. So it's not, very production heavy, but I like the composition of it. And then here, I'm going to talk about the visuals. So if I just open up the video window here, yes, I have visuals for it. Now, it's a little bit chaos. As you can see, the sort of the visuals that I've got going on here are sort of all over the place. But it's down to this little plugin here, this Max for Life plugin, Gans Graph Mod X. And it sort of does its own thing. You can change the shapes, you can change the particles, which is what the shapes are made out of. And you can change the X and Y, that sort of thing. So I can't actually show you the live sort of visual that this creates for some reason. I actually don't know why it's not doing that. But this is my video window that I've screen recorded the live footage of the visual here, and then I've brought it in down here and just exported it, and I've done a couple of edits to it, as you can see, with my logo over the top, and I've done some color stuff as well. But yeah, I'll just show you what this looks like on the drop because I quite like it. I should probably say flash warning. So yeah, I've just got basically just negative space with shapes flying around, different colors, different, sort of shapes that it's pulling. And it didn't really like me there because the CPU spiked. But yeah, that's my track, Wake Up. If you like it, and if you would like me to send you the stems for this so you can do some kind of remix for it, or just do whatever you want to with it, I've got the stems here. I can send them to you. Just give me a DM. And watch out for the track that is releasing on the 17th of June. It's called Wake Up by MONOLYX featuring Angel Harrison.